Welcome to Dexon Photography and welcome to a camera lens comparison, the battle of the 50mm lenses. We got the cheapest Canon EF 50mm lens here, and we got one of the more expensive ones, the 51.2, the expensive one, and the 51.8 STM, the cheap ones. Now the 50mm lens is one of the most used lenses or focal length in photography. And one of the reasons is it's easy and cheap to get into. 50mm, this one costs €100 and it has a great quality. It gives you the blurry background, the bokeh, it gives you great image quality, sharpness, and it's very versatile, which means that you can use it to photograph people, you can use it to photograph groups, you can do it for detail shots, you can do a lot with it. And that is the reason why many people use a 50mm lens. Now there is a variety of choices and options, so let's take a look at two of them. Now when you take a look at Canon, there is the 50mm 1.81, the 50mm 1.82, the 50mm 1.8 STM. This is the newest one of these three, and they are all around €100, super cheap, easy to get into, and exceptional image quality. Works great on APS-C cameras and on full-frame cameras. I only use full-frame cameras, so this is what you will see when we take a look at the images done on the Canon 60 Mark II and other full-frame cameras. There's the 50mm EF f2.5 macro lens, and there's the 50mm f1.4 and the 50mm 1.2L and the 50mm 1.0. There is an autofocus lens, a Canon EF 50mm 1.0, super heavy, super expensive. You can get it used for €4,000. You very barely find it anywhere, and only the most passionate photographers have those lenses, pay such money for a lens. If you want to see some images, take a look at the exceptionally phenomenal photographer Sam Hurd. Sam Hurd Photography, he's one of the guys who writes the most beautiful reviews for cameras. Go to Google and Google Sam Hurd Canon EOS R review. He is a lot on Patreon, but he has some stuff for free on his blog, and there you can find the EOS R review, which by itself is a phenomenal review, and all the images look beautiful. And he also used the 50mm 1.2 and many other lenses. He's one of those super passionate photographers that I see myself among, but he's on another level. Okay, so this is what is available there, and I got two options, the 51.8, 51.2. How can we compare these two? Let's put them together on the same camera, the Canon 60 Mark II, on a tripod next to each other like this. Do the same settings, aperture f2.0, shutter speed around 1/4000, ISO 50, white balance around 8000 Kelvin, and this is the setting that I used for most of the shootings that you are going to see. I will show you some of the behind the scenes. I filmed the photo shoot, so you see now how I filmed it. It's just what I wear, and you see the images also. Now the thing that I want to focus on now is, do you really need a €1,300 lens, a 50mm, when you can get a €100 lens with the same focal length? And in my experience, you get 90% of the image with this lens and only 10% maybe more with this lens, but you pay €1,200 more. And so at the end of the video, I will show you many photo shootings I did with both lenses, 51.8, 51.2, on the streets, photographing strangers, talking to them, asking them if they'd like a free photo shoot, showing them some images, how that might look like. They say nice images. I say, if you like, I can do this with you too. You can get images like this with you as well. And then we do the photo shoot. You will see many videos like this with both lenses, so you can make up your own mind. Is there really a big difference between 1.8 and 1.2? Now in this video where I photographed myself with my suit on, I only shot at f2.0, so both lenses had the same option. On the streets I had the 51.2 mostly at 1.2 and 51.8 at around 2.2 to 2.8. You can use the 51.2 wide open and it works pretty well on any camera. Even the older cameras with focus recomposing works really well at f1.2. The 1.8 version, it's not that sharp at f1.8, and I don't use it at f1.8. I find it has an incredible quality from f2.2 to 2.8. So that's the aperture I mostly use with it. f2.5 will give you phenomenal images, incredible sharpness. In fact, the 51.8 is sharper than the 51.2, but you don't want this for sharpness, you want this for the look, for the beautiful image, for the blurry background, for the bokeh, for the dreamy aesthetics. That is why you want to pay so much money for this, when you get 90% of it with this for 100 euros. And now when I grew up, I always dreamt about the 51.2. 50 is my most favorite focal length, and so it's just natural for me to go for what is best. Actually, the best would be the 51.0 in terms of aperture, but in terms of price, usability, weight, the 51.2 is incredible. It is bigger than the 1.8, and in fact when I go on the streets and photograph people on the streets and I think about which lens will I bring, I mostly go for 50mm, and then when I think about okay, which 50, I often go with the 1.8 just because, let me make it a little bit darker. I go with the 51.8 just because it's lighter, it's smaller, the autofocus is super fast, and the bokeh at 2.2, 2.5 is still very great, and you get a blurry background. So in fact, I don't need the 51.2. The reason why I got the 51.2 is because I wanted to have it. I had the 51.2 so long in my head, and sometimes you need to get your dreams out of your head. You have to make them real, just so you have space to focus on something else and not focus on the same thing for so many years. So with dreams, most of the time it's very special before you have it, and when you have it, the thing loses its specialty. So the 50mm was very incredible before I had it, and once I had it, I found out it's actually just another lens like so many others. But I wanted to have it, and the reason for me to buy it is photography is so important to me that I know this is my job, this is my passion, this will be my career. I will get known in this area over the next 30 years, and I want to finish on this world with a camera in my hand in 30, 40, 50 years. Because of this, I put everything I have into photography, and I have no problem with it. I love the idea. When I get something, I don't think about it like, oh, I put so much money in photography, no, I feel bad. I feel bad to say, sorry that I couldn't put in more. Sorry that I only have the 51.2 and not the 51.0. That I don't put 4,000 euros on the table for that heavy 1.0 lens, which I might, but until now I haven't. And that's always my philosophy. I put a lot of money in photography, and the only thing I think about is, sorry that I cannot do more for you, photography. I'd love to put more into you. So the reality is, in my experience, these two lenses are very similar, 51.2, 51.8. And I think when you're young, when you're a student, when you haven't found yourself, where you are trying, you have some jobs, but you know these are not the real jobs, they don't pay you that much, that you can buy this just from the monthly payment. And so I think the 51.8 will bring you very, very far. I still use it on weddings. I still use it for many street photography shootings. When I go out on the streets, what's important to me is I want to travel light, and I don't want to bring much. So a small lens, a light lens, because I have the camera bag around me for so long. So often I don't choose the 51.2 but the 51.8 because it's lighter, autofocus is still very fast, even faster than this one. And the bokeh and blurry background is still on a level where you say this is a beautiful blurry background, and it doesn't lack that professional look that you get with that blurry background. So the 51.8 is a phenomenal lens for anybody who loves photography but who says it's not actually my career, my job, my passion, it's not super important. It is important but not super important. Then the 1.8 will bring you very far. I also use it on the streets because sometimes the camera falls out of my hand and it's easy to buy a 100 euro lens. With this lens, this also falls down, but repairing it cost me about 400 euros when I send it to Canon. I had a couple of lenses falling down and they always cost me around 400 euros to repair. So when this was at Canon headquarters, I photographed the weddings with this one. It was beautiful. I didn't see any difference between this 100 euro lens and all the other lenses I had on the wedding, like the 135mm 2.0, the 85mm 1.2, the 24mm 1.4, or Sigma 35 1.4R. The 50 fits in that line of lenses pretty well. So the end of what I'm telling you is I give you a lot of videos now to see, so you can see actually how these two lenses work in real photo shoots with people that I talk to on the streets. If you also like to learn how to photograph people on the streets, I created a video course also now in English, so you can learn how to do it. How do people buy the images? How can I sell them the images without writing many emails? How do I talk to these people? What do I have to do when they say, no, I don't want that? And they still will get into the photography shooting. What can you do to get there? If you want to learn how to photograph yourself, like I do here with a couple of cameras, if you like, I can show you this in another video course, the self-made portrait photography video course. And if you like the images just by the look, I have created a preset pack for Lightroom. So there are over 40 looks that I always use for editing everything from wedding to street portraits, photographing myself, and I give it to you. You can buy it pretty cheaply, so you can get the same look. So thank you very much. I hope I can entertain you. This is not a technical review. I'm not going to go into any real technical stuff. How sharp are the edges? How is corner sharpness? Let's photograph the wall behind us and zoom in on the small pieces in the wall. That's not going to happen. I'm always about experience and using it when photographing people. That's what I love to do. I photograph people. And I have to tell you, both lenses work phenomenally well. If I didn't have the 51.2, I could live pretty well with the 51.8 now that I had it. The dream was real. It was realized. Now I see it's just another lens, and actually the 51.8 I appreciate it so much because it's light, it's small, it's super cheap. If it falls down, I can buy it again, and the image quality is 90% or even more than what this one will give me. When people tell me or say, or you read about it, the 51.2 is the open aperture 1.2 is so bright you can shoot in darkness where other lenses like this one can photograph. I don't really understand that, because if you photograph somewhere where this doesn't work, I don't see this working either. The best thing to do in this scenario is to bring some light in. Use a flash, shoot it against the ceiling, bring some LED light, change the situation, go to a window, go outside the room, do anything. But I don't think 1.8, if this doesn't work, 1.2 won't fix it. That's my philosophy. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of this lens comparison, and I hope I can help you. I hope that you will find that you can get a lot with the 1.8 version that's very cheap, and you don't actually have to have the 1.2 that is more expensive. Put the difference in money into a camera body. You can buy the 51.8 and the 62 for the same price as of this lens. Get this lens if photography is your thing, if you love it, if you're passionate about it, if you want to invest in it, if you want to be big in it, invest in your dreams. I always know that the more money, time, energy I put into my dreams, the realer they get. I hope I can be an example of this. Thank you very much. So now we have these images that we just took of ourselves here. I now have these images here in Photo Mechanic. Photo Mechanic shows me the images, the JPEG files, straight from the camera. So these are all the unedited files. And these are the files from the 50mm f1.8 STM lens. I believe some of you may think it doesn't make sense to compare the two lenses with the edited files, because I've edited them quite a bit. So you might not be able to see the nature of the lens. And so I thought, let's just take a look at the images on the computer here in a nice way, so you can see the images. And we start off now with the 50mm 1.8 lens. You see my face is not sharp here, but the camera is sharp, so the camera was focused on, and now my face is sharp. Mostly my face is sharp. It's very rarely that it's not on focus, but sometimes something else is in focus. Now here, for example, you don't see my face, and yet still the image looks pretty good focus-wise. I photographed in a variety of scenarios. Here I have the direct sunlight. Here I photograph against the sun, and I have to adjust the camera settings. If you want to know the camera settings, just look up here. Here you have all the settings. I have all the time the camera at f2.0 and at ISO 50, and I only change the shutter speed. It was pretty windy, which can also be a nice thing. I was a little bit worried that a tripod falls down. I've had this a couple of times, and sometimes this costs money when you have to send in a lens. But also my hair was blowing, and the positive thing is you have the coat a little bit nicely flying around, which got me some nice images. And you see at f2.0 with the autofocus, with face detection, you can get really nice images with the face in focus, even if the face is not really all in the image. If there's just a little bit of the face in the image, most of the time it's fine. Sometimes it's off. I've decided to put in this selection some images that are not in focus, so you get a feeling of, I think it's 95% that the camera actually hits my face, even in situations like this, where my eyes are closed, something is in my face, like the camera, I have a hat on, my hand is also here. So it's not so easy for the camera to see my face, and yet the images, most of them are pretty well on point. You have to consider, I photographed myself here, so it was also pretty windy. So it's always challenging, and I love that. I don't want to take pictures in an easy environment, then it's no joy for me. I don't plan shootings in a way that I don't think about the images that I'm going to get before that. I just have a feeling about it. I think, let me bring a suit. Should I take the tie or not? Let me put it on and maybe later I put it off. Maybe I bring a hat. Okay, let's put the hat into the car. Maybe some sunglasses or some glasses. Okay, what kind of glasses do we have? Okay, let's take a look. Maybe I don't use it, maybe I will. I also had another camera with me that I didn't put out, and I had other jackets with me that I didn't use. So I don't go in with a plan. I always go in with a feeling. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy it. Photography is a joy. It's a game. It's a play. That's how I approach it. And especially these images, it's just for me. It's just for fun. There's no client waiting for these images. These images are just for the love of photography, and now with the coronavirus, all the weddings will be delayed. So who can I photograph without breaking the law? I can photograph myself. I can stand alone in the street, wherever I am. At least in Germany you can do this. And I can take pictures of me. You see, I am at places where nobody else is. This is in an industrial area. And so, because the buildings are closed now and the offices are closed, on that holiday, I could go there without anyone around me, kind of. So you now get a feeling of the 50mm 1.8 STM lens. You see the sharpness, you see all at f2.0, and I like to use it between 2.2 and 2.8. And we can scroll through these images just one more time, like this, so you get a feeling of it. Now these are all unedited JPEGs. This is straight from the camera, and I think most of them look fine already. I don't have to edit these images. I edit them because it's just my habit. And here we have the STM images. Now let's go to the expensive lens. So now we have here the images with the Canon EF 50mm f1.2L lens. It's the same place, and I actually used the same camera settings, so the images should look pretty much the same. Now these two cameras, it's both the same camera, the Canon 60 Mark II, but I bought them with around 2 years time difference. So Canon may have changed something inside, I don't know. When I look on the screen of the cameras with the same settings, everything's the same manually. The images look a little bit different color-wise. I don't know if Canon changed the screen or did something to the sensor, but I've used both cameras with the same setting here, ISO 50, aperture 2.0, although it's a 1.2 lens, 1/4000th of a second. So the images are the same. Again, this is JPEG straight from the camera. Let me just check it here. These are also the JPEG straight from the camera, and now we have the images from the 50mm 1.2. We've just taken a look at the 50mm 1.8 STM lens files. Okay, so I just scroll through. Not all these images are super duper perfect on point. It's just a selection I made. So you also see some of these images that are not in focus, but actually most of the time I'm shooting against the sun. The sun is behind me. I can shoot in the sunlight, I shoot in the shade here, and it's really nice to be able to do something like this today. I think it would be really nice if this technology would have been there 10, 20, 30 years ago. Then we would have had many more self-portraits of these great photographers that created photography history in the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I think this kind of photography where you can photograph yourself, you might call it the new selfie, the evolution of the selfie of the professional photographer. I think it's a beautiful way to have yourself in the image, yourself with your kid on the arm, yourself with what you love to do. I love taking pictures, so I love having some images of me with the camera in my hand. When my son asked me one day, "Father, how did you look like when I was young, when I was a baby? What did you do when you were young?" Then I can show him all these images. And maybe he gets an idea of who I was with all the videos on this channel as well, who I was and what character I had when I was young. Maybe I changed. I probably look different in 10, 20 years than I look now. And I still want my son to have a kind of feeling of who I was. I don't want my time to be a black box for him. I don't want him to look at me and think, I wonder who this man was with 30 years old. With all the videos and the photos, he can kind of get an idea of who I was right now with 33 years old. That's a big internal motivation to do this. I don't get paid for these images. I can put these images on stock photography sites like Adobe Stock, probably will do it. But there is no financial reason to take these images other than I love photography. It's Corona time, so the best way to take pictures of someone is to take pictures of yourself. That's the safest way right now. And I love this. It's easy technology-wise. The cameras are capable of doing this. You can do this even with a variety of cameras. I did this a couple of days ago where I used 3 different cameras on 3 tripods with 3 different focal lengths on 3 different lenses. So I had one moment and I had 3 different views on that moment. And if you want to learn this kind of photography to photograph yourself easily, get images like this straight from the camera without editing, you can learn this with my video course. I put the link in the description below so you can learn this too. This is not, my main motivation is not I want to get rich. My main motivation is to help others by sharing what I learned and what I found out was valuable. And I put a price tag to it so that it becomes important to you. If you pay for something, that something will get important to you. You will see a lot of videos on this channel where I photograph people on the streets, and just by these videos, it's over 500 street photo shoots. You can learn a lot, but I've created a video course. I put a price tag to it. It's not that much. You can make that money in one day, but I've put a price tag to it because if you pay for something, it becomes important. If there's no price tag on it, it's not important. You didn't pay anything. If you want to get something out of something, pay for it. If you want to lose weight, instead of going to the gym, pay somebody 100 euros that teach you diet. And that investment of 100 euro might change that you take it seriously. This is something that I would do. If I wanted to lose weight and I wouldn't do sports or something else, I would pay somebody, and I know paying for something, I take it much more serious than just going to YouTube and search for losing weight or how to eat right. I hope I can inspire you. My goal is to love and be loved, and to inspire and to be inspired. I always look to people that inspire me, and because it gives me such a great feeling, my interest and ambition is also to inspire. I want to give someone that feeling that I get when I look at someone that inspires me, and if I get that, then it all made sense. And if not, I'm not there. I have to work harder and do better. And I hope I can do some good here right now in this hard time by doing this kind of self-portrait photography with 2 lenses. And I hope I can give you some insight here how the images look like. This is now the 51.2 at f2.0, and that's it. einfach hier gegenlehnen. Ja, genau. Ich schau mal so ein bisschen in die Ferne, so ein bisschen abseits der Kamera. Das war mal ganz schön. Ich kann dir mal zeigen, zum Gucken. Einmal von hier und schau nochmal so ein bisschen nach da. Und ich komme auch einmal von hier mal zu mir hoch. Und vielleicht, wenn du dich einfach mal hier hinstellst, dann haben wir noch einen anderen Hintergrund. Jetzt nehme ich die einfach ich nehme die einfach in die Hand. So. Ich schau mal. Schau auch noch mal so nach da. Ich sag das, weil das vom Licht ganz schön ist. Es gibt ein sehr schönes Licht. Bleib ruhig einfach so. Und vielleicht noch einmal, wenn du dich einfach hier hinstellst, dass ich einfach mal in die Richtung fotografiere. Du kannst auch so eine Hand in die Hüfte nehmen. Ja, genau. Ich schau einmal. Wenn du willst, ich habe immer noch so eine Sonnenbrille dabei. Ich zeige sie dir mal. Du kannst das einmal so halten. Das hat immer noch mal einen anderen Look auf den Bildern. So einer.
¿Se va a cambiar de posición ahí? Quédate ahí, ¿cómo estás?
Gegen das Licht.
Ja, ich weiß. Con los zapatos de baile no puede, Yanis. No, con los zapatos de baile no, se estropean.
Una foto con las flores. Vale. Y después finito.
Vale. ¿Y esa cuándo la colgaría? Pues regresa el miércoles. Pues yo creo que... ¿Cuándo suben el vídeo, Yanis? ¿Van bis todas?
Una semana.
En una semana.
Por ejemplo, tú siéntate aquí. Oh, ja. Puedes mirar un poco al sol.
En dirección al sol, sí.
Un poco a mí. Un poco más.
Inclinar hacia adelante. Sí.
Voy un poco más.
Es para que no te haga sombra.
Sehr schön. Ei, ei, ei. Und noch einmal ein bisschen näher dran. Und vielleicht, wenn du dich einfach hier anlehnst, einmal an das Geländer. Ja, das sind schöne Herbstfarben, ne? Das Grün von der,
Ja, ne?
Das Grün von der Hose.
Ich habe gedacht, Camouflage
Ja, ist schön.
fällt mir nicht so auf.
Kommt ja langsam der Herbst. So. Und vielleicht einmal, wenn du dich hier an den Baum lehnst,
Ja.
wir können mal schauen. Ja, genau. Ja, sehr schön. Ich schau einmal. Einmal Looky. Pop. Sehr schön. Dann hast du ein paar schöne Erinnerungsmomente von Düsseldorf hier.
Kurz eben nebenbei gemacht.
Und einmal, ja, sehr schön so. Einmal Looky. Pop. Ich zeige dir gleich mal die Bilder. Ich kann dir mal zeigen, wie das so ausschaut. Muy guapa. Voy a ver. Perfecto. Y puedes ver un poco en esa dirección. Muy bueno. Voy un poco más cerca. Y puedes mirar un poco así. Muy bueno.
Esto es para ir entrenando, viene bien.
Claro, va a ir calentando.
Y una vez. Y puedes. Oh ya. Y en la calle.
Ya derretido el maquillaje.
Todo bien.
Hay que reto.
Está bien. Y puedes mirar un poco así. Vaya. Perfecto. Muy bueno. Y una con tu pelo así. Vaya. Ay. Bueno, un poco más cerca.
Es más bueno ese perro.
¿Vamos? Mira. No, un besito. Un besito.
Qué bonito es.
Y un poco más lejos.
Du kannst auch die Tasche lassen, ne?
Oh, campeón.
Y una foto solo de ti. Sí, también. Ya.
Aquí vamos, me voy.
Es muy bueno. Sí. Esa es muy guay también. ¿Es el perro o la pera?
Perro.
Ramón.
Ramón.
Está muy guay. Sí. Bueno. Una vez puedes mirar a mí. Ramón.
Pensando. Yo sé qué es lo que voy a hacer ahora. Aparezco por detrás.
Puedes mirar así.
Ana.
Hoy la pestaña.
Puedes mirar a la derecha.
A la derecha,
Y una aquí. O aquí. Aquí, en la puerta.
Va a cambiar de opinión cuando veas la grande o la pequeña.
Ja, aquí, genau.
La pequeña te queda corta.
Sí. Muy bueno. Y puedes mirar un poco. Oh ya, un poco abajo. Oh ya. Puedes mirar así. Perfecto. Un poco más fuera.
Échale una de aquí para allá. Que mira las vistas.
Tú puedes mirar a mí. Puedes ir un poco más.
¿De pie?
Ah ja. Du musst da mit dem Bild. Puedes mirar a Bebé. Una, por ejemplo, aquí. Ja.
Qué bueno.
Muy bonito. Tú puedes mirar por derecho.
Al corte de manos.